Hey YouTube, it is League Turnover today, and so this morning I looked at the Master League Premier, which is no legendary but yes to Excel. But if you don't have Excels and you don't want to play Master League, which I'm sure most of you do not, Great League is on again. So I'm not going to go over the rankings, but what I want to do is the meta has narrowed, it seems substantially. It seems in the first few weeks everyone was down here trying like Licky and these like new ghost Pokemon like Dust Noir and Driplomet they actually think is very strong. But even people like Arglagar are still good. Are there any Pokemon outside the top 100 that are like unique? Is Charjabug still good? How fun is Low Kicks? It's not like that anymore. The meta has condensed a lot. Basically every team I see is a mixture of 10 to 15 Pokemon. Those Pokemon are Clodsire, Mandibuzz, Feraligatr, Gastrodon, Diggersby, Azumarill, Malamar, Pangoro, Toxapex, Dunsparce is everywhere as a safe swap, Drapion, Sandslash, and I'm going to say Superior, and where's Dugong? Dugong. That's essentially the 10 to 15 Pokemon that are on every single team. And you're going to see them on these teams. A couple of my teams that are very strong. One was the top ranked team of PV Poke. We got some legend teams from other content creators. We got number one in the world teams from other content creators that they showcased. So that is the meta. So you either build for it or you try to build against it. It's tough to do both at the same time, quite honestly. So what is the number one PV Poke ranked team? So if you go to training on PV Poke, you will see this as the number one ranked team. And this team is Azumarill, Dugong, Sandslash. And why is it the number one ranked team? I think that it's got a lot of things going for it. I think you have a double. Let's just start with your weaknesses, because you have a double electric weakness in Azumarill and Dugong. There's not a ton of electric right now. Charjabug, which was the number one electric last season, is nowhere to be found because everyone's worried about Clodsire just walling it. So not a lot of electric. Lantern got nerfed. So between Lantern getting nerfed and Charjabug getting walled by Clodsire, there's not a lot of electric. There is more Peko now, which some people are having fun with. But even half the time, that's not electric. Half the time, that's just a dark aura wheel. So you don't need to worry about that as much, right? The other thing is grass. Now, two of these three Pokemon are ice Pokemon, and the other one has an ice type move. So if you have a grass Pokemon come out where you double each grass, you have three ice moves. You have ice moves on every single one of the Pokemon to at least somewhat deal with it. So that's what makes the weaknesses on that weak and that strong. And then you have a double weakness to fighting, Dugong and Sandslash. But there's actually not a lot of fighters in this meta because the only two main fighters are Pangoro and Machamp, and they're kind of overrated in my opinion. So it's a strong team, even though you have a lot of weaknesses. What makes it strong is you're not building for all those weaknesses that you're not worried about all the weaknesses that aren't in the meta. You're building for the meta, and the meta is Clodsire. And this team has three answers to Clodsire. You have Azumarill is going to be a little tough if it's running Sludge Bomb. If it's running Stone Edge and Earthquake, you have a better chance. If it's running Sludge Bomb, you probably lose, but you can hit Super Effective with Bubble and Ice Beam. You have the Ice Shard and Icy Wind on Dugong. You have the Powder Snow, Ice Punch, and Drill Run on Sandslash. You don't need to watch out for the Earthquake, but basically you have everything for Clodsire. And they deal kind of around, like, you got a couple answers to Flyers here, like for actually you have three answers to Flyers for like Mandibuzz. And Toxapex, you got Dugong and Sandslash that have the Drill Run. So you have answers for some of the main meta, which is why it probably ranks pretty high on PV Poke. And this is the team that I put out, that I used, that I had success with. And right now, both on the video and in the Discord, everyone's like, I use this team and I'm gone 17-6 or whatever, 17-8. So this team has been very consistent. And it is Toxapex, Dunsparce, Drifblim. So Toxapex, I think I like semi put this team together to deal with the previous team because that previous team was the number one ranked team and it was everywhere. I showcased it. Other content creators showcased it as people started using it. So Toxapex is the insane answer to Azumarill, just walls everything. Dunsparce will deal with your Dugong, plus it deals with a lot of stuff, right? The Rock Slide and Draw Run coverage gives you a lot of coverage. And Drifblim doesn't answer anything on that team, but I think Drifblim is very, very strong. It answers all your... This is a balanced team because Toxapex is weak to ground. So Drifblim as a flyer will deal with the ground. Yes, double weak to electric, but I just kind of went over in the other one there why I'm not worried about the double electric weakness in this meta. Okay, so Home Slice. So I took from what are the two biggest and most active content creators right now in GBL, and that is Home Slice and Yonkus. Man, my video is lagging again. My audio is fine, so let's just keep going. So he is approaching Legend, and he's showcasing. I'm pretty sure this team was it was the world champ. Oh, I can't believe I'm blanking on his name. It's Axon's team. So hit number 1 in the world. So you've seen. Let's talk about these number 1 in the world teams. They are legit number 1 in the world teams. They are content creators that are people hit number 1 in the world on the leaderboard. And for those of you who have not seen the leaderboard here, let me just bring it up so you can see what I'm talking about. So every season, there is a gold battle leaderboard, and it has the highest elo ranges on the thing. So right now the highest is at 3470, and it changes, it updates and goes up and down. You have a lot of just like same people out of pocket. Before Showman here is always up there. Emmy Weedle. Actually, it was Emmy Weedle, I think, that had this team. One Elo is always up there. Ilquim, like they're just top. They're just like some of the best battlers in the world are always on this screen. Anyways, what these content creators do is they find out who's number 1 and get their team and then showcase that team on YouTube. Not out of the goodness of their own heart, but it is a very, very good way to get clicks on a video. Because anytime, and I'm going to do it on this video, I'm going to rank 1 in the world team. Gets clicks because people want to see what the best people in GBL are using. So this is what they used. Morpeko, Goodra, and Azumarill. So what makes this team kind of like weird right off the bat is you're double weak to Fairy on the front, but you don't have a Fairy direct answer in the back. You only have a Azumarill. Other weaknesses though, I think they kind of cover. Like Morpeko is going to be weak to ground, Azumarill will cover ground. Goodra is weak to ice, Azumarill will cover ice. Poison, you don't really have a poison answer. So Aurorial's, well, I mean, you have Aqua Tail. No, that's not going to help. Well, I guess the main poison, there's 2 main poisons. There's one in Toxapex, which you have 2 electric moves for, or a Wheel and Thunder Punch. And then there's Clodsire. So you have Aqua Tail. You can kind of deal with it with Bubble and Ice Beam. You can go Psychic Fangs and then Aura Wheel. Like go Psychic Fangs the first time, which is super effective on Clodsire, and then go like a hard-hitting Dark Aura Wheel the second time. So there's ways to get around the poison there. But basically you have 2 bulky Pokemon in the back. Morpeko, if you haven't used it yet, really needs shields. But you have 2 bulky Pokemon in the back. And then Goodra would be your safe swap if you see like a ground, because it is pretty spammy. And then another one they used, Pangoro, Quagsire, Drifblim. Again, I think Drifblim's really strong in this meta. I have enjoyed using it. It is very glossy though if you haven't used that. So this is a very glossy team, but it said it did very, like this is a legend team as well. I think it was a legend team where a legend player used this team. Pangoro, Quagsire, and Drifblim are all very glassy. Some more than others, like Quagsire is not bad, but Pangoro and Drifblim are pretty glassy Pokemon. But you know, you got a fighter to deal with all these normal typings. And you got Quagsire, which is going to deal with like Clodsire a bit. And then Drifblim is going to be problems against like Dugong and stuff, but then that's where Pangoro comes in. Again, some fairy, like Wigglytuff would cause this team a lot of problems. You'd have to just kind of try to deal with like Quagsire. But again, these people who are building these teams are building for the main meta. Like, what do you see in the meta? You're seeing a lot of things weak to fighting. You're seeing Sandslash, Dugong, Dunsparce, right? Because there's Pangoro and Machamp are really the only 2 fighters that are active in this meta. So a lot of things weak to fighting. A lot of things weak to ground and water combo here, right? You have Clodsire and your Toxapex as your poisons and Drapion as a poison, weak to ground. At the same time, you have ground Pokemon coming up like Marowak, that is weak to ground. Sorry, weak to water. So you have coverage there. And then you have an answer for ground as a flyer here, because there's not there's some grass that are coming out to try and deal with some of these Pokemon. So you got a flyer here to deal with that. You have a flyer to deal with like Gastrodon as an absolute wall here. So there's a lot of strengths in the Pokemon for what is the main meta. Speaking about Wiggly double ground. You have a Charm user that's going to have problems with steals and poisons. And then you have 2 ground types in the back that'll deal with steel and poison. So team makes sense. Honestly, you can use either as a safe swap, in my opinion. At this point, I think Marowak makes a better safe swap because you actually have coverage for like flyers. Because if you have quick attack, you can at least chip neutral. But I'm just thinking something like Drifblim, which I just talked about. Quick attack would be resisted on Drifblim. Scorching Sands would be resisted, so you can only throw a non-stat Fire Punch. You get like killed there. But with a Bone Club, with a Mud Slap, Bone Club, Rock Slide, you got some coverage there. It's kind of like what makes Dunsparce so strong. You have the Drill Run and Rock Slide on Dunsparce for great coverage. So Bone Club, Rock Slide, same idea. A lot of good coverage in that move. I would personally use that as the safe swap, but others might use that. Ooh, I guess Drifblim is not that much of a secret anymore. So let's talk about the other 2, and let's talk about what just happened in the regional this past weekend, where 65% of participants now used Ariados. So if you want to go back, I think I did that video 2 weeks ago. I went over the top 10 Pokemon from the Lille Pokemon Regional Championships. And Dunsparce, Ariados made an appearance for the first time on that list, and it was the number 6 ranked 6 used Pokemon, and now it jumped to number 1 most used Pokemon. So why the heck is everyone now using Ariados? And again, it has a couple things going for it. It has, it's going to beat your like Azumarill and stuff like that. Like that's the obvious one. It beats Azumarill and fairies and stuff. At the same time, it has 2 fast, good moves that covers a lot in this meta, right? I talked about how everyone's using Dugong as a safe swap. There's a ton of Mud Boys, just Gastrodon, Quagsire, some Swampert, not as many, but there's also just a lot of ground, Marowak, stuff like that. You now have a buffed Trailblaze that you get to very, very quickly on this. Only 5 poison stings to a Trailblaze, so you get to it very quick. Same time, you have Malamar out there, and Malamar is a Dark Psychic, which is double weak to Bug. So you have a very fast charging Poison Sting Lunge where you can get to a double super effective move on Malamar. So it's got a lot of coverage against the top meta. Now, obviously, there's some things that are going to beat it. You still have a ton of problems with Clodsire and stuff like that, but you'd be surprised how much you can spam Trailblaze and stuff like that. So that is why it has risen up the rankings. At the same time, your other Pokemon like Bastiodon, Carbink, that were around a lot previous seasons are not around because everyone's scared of ground Pokemon. So they're scared of ground Pokemon, so you don't need to worry about rock as much. You are also weak to flying. All the flyers got nerfed. You're weak to fire. Not a lot of fire because all the grounds are out there. So the Poison Sting is resisted by the ground, but that's where the Trailblaze comes in, right? So that's what makes it strong. And then Toxapex, I already kind of talked about how bulky it is. And just like a nice answer to like Feraligatr, stuff like that, right? Where you can hit neutral with Poison Jab and Sludge Wave while they only have resisted Hydros on you. So kind of allows you to deal with some of the main meta there. So a lot of these teams similarities in how they are just building for the main meta, and I kind of went over those main meta at the beginning. So hopefully that is helpful. Anyways, that is it. Thanks for watching. I'm going to showcase probably at least one Master League Premier team, but we're probably going to focus on Great League because that's probably where the views are. Anyways, that is it. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next one.